Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve. Hello, and welcome back. This is episode 65 of Nursing Your Way to Wealth. Apologies for the small hiatus last week. I just poorly planned my life a bit. I was in a hospital quite far away doing some additional training on the cranial nerves in the brain and all 12 of them and what they do and what order they're in. So, Alex, if you have any questions about particular cranial nerves, you can quiz me as we go. But we've called this one "What Would You Focus On If You Were Rich?" And this is based off a Reddit post that I browsed kind of over lunchtime today, in combination with one I read this morning. So that really the idea here is building financial awareness, building good financial practices in order for you to become rich over time. The same thing that Alex and I are doing. And really, everyone focuses an awful lot on the getting rich part, but I'm not sure we think enough about what to do once you're there. And a lot of the criticism of the financial independence, retire early movement is, well, what are you going to do with your time once you don't need to work for a living anymore? So Alex and I are going to talk a bit about both of those. We've got a really good return on heartbeats, too, actually. And I've got a timely, reasonable or ridiculous for Alex as well. So the first part of this, the first Reddit post that I looked at this morning was somebody said they earn £14,000 English pounds per month and they're miserable. So, firstly, Alex, welcome along. And your thoughts on the earning 14K a month and being miserable?
Yeah, hi Alex and hi everybody. Yeah, I think I mean that's a crazy amount of money to earn in any given month, and all I can assume is I think there's that assumption that more money equals more happiness, and potentially that's not the case. I think there's probably a lot to do with how you design your life and what you do around it, and if you can't be unless this guy has got a £15,000 a month mortgage for a flat in Chelsea or something, and he's actually, even though he earns a load of money, he doesn't keep a lot of it. Or if he works in a job that is, absolutely thankless and awful. Yeah, I don't, I kind of struggle to see how you couldn't be using that money to help improve improve yourself a bit. Um,
Yeah, I agree. And I'm aware here I've given you zero context with that statement, but to dig a little bit deeper into it, so they've been earning that much money um, for a little bit of time. They're looking at the world as a whole within that environment that they work in, which I believe is something finance, security, online, cybery stuff, right? The post is pretty vague, but I think they're looking at the world now that they've conquered really the money game and most of the other things that could buy you. They look at it from a different point of view of actually what can they do to change things in the world for the better. And then it can make some people feel a little bit powerless. So that's the focus really of this episode of what would you focus on if you were rich. I'm going to ask Alex that as well. I asked my wife before we hit record, and she's given me some ideas of what she would do if we were rich enough to not have to worry about money anymore. But initially, as well, I just want to keep kind of the format and the order here. So I've got two return on heartbeats things for this week. One, I've had another email from a lady called Rose, who's a fellow nurse. I don't know her in real life, but she began saving into a stocks and shares ISA after listening to the show. She sent us a quick email and an update now that she's now got £300 in her ISA, and she started this in April 2025, which was last month. So when we first initially spoke, she said she was going to put £50 direct debit every month in, and it sounds like she's done additional adding to that. So, Rose, massive congratulations to you. You've certainly started. You're on the right path. So, yeah, super well done for that.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Well done. I
it's
think
huge.
you often find it gets a little bit addictive as well when you start going and start building it up.
Absolutely. I think I might ask her for maybe a 6 or 3 monthly update, and we can see that grow at the
Mm.
same time as well. But yeah, huge congrats on taking action with that. We're both proud of you. The other part of this return on heartbeats is I've been doing, my wife and I have been doing a lot of garden related stuff recently in the nice weather. So in January, we spent an awful lot of time planting seeds, potting things, adding like soil and nutrients and moisture and stuff to loads of different seeds. And over kind of late winter, spring, as it gets a bit warmer, gets to not below zero every night, we've started repotting stuff, planting stuff outside, and now we're really seeing the those plants kind of take off and start giving us like food that we can eat. So we've been eating a load of chard out of our garden. We've got loads of potatoes, carrots are growing, and onions as well. So it's really a bit of a metaphor for the investing side of the things we talk about here. So it takes a little bit of effort initially, but once those things are done, stuff starts growing on its own. And all I do every couple of days is water it if we've not had any rain. And it's pretty much self-sufficient, apart from some occasional like like repotting of stuff and getting rid of snails. Um, yeah. So, Alex, any other thoughts on the return on heartbeats at all?
I think that's really nice. I think that's brilliant that you've done that.
Yeah, and we get great
And
food.
yeah, I think that's honestly something I that always crosses my mind, and I think it's quite to try and do that myself. And to hear that you've done it is, yeah, quite inspirational actually. And you get your own food. It's all organic, grown in your garden.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're eating seasonally as well. Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely, really nutritious and really lovely to just go and pull like a potato or a carrot out of the ground, wash it, and then cook it or eat it raw if
yeah.
you wanted to. So the one thing that's changed us for the better for that is we I used to make vegetable boxes out of old pallets, and it was really time consuming and a
Mm.
bit like a bit painful to do. But I've discovered a thing from watching a gardening guy on YouTube. He uses something called a pallet collar, which is basically like a protective thing to go around a pallet for like shipping or something. And it's a foldable box basically, and you can just put that on the ground, bash it in with a hammer because it's got little metal pegs on each corner, fill it with compost, and away you go.
Oh,
You're
brilliant.
done.
Oh, so you've
So
just
it
got
took
loads of these boxes with different vegetables in them then.
Correct, yeah, and we've got
Ah,
a huge patch of other vegetables. Like we used to keep chickens there, so the ground is really fertile because they've been pooping on it for years. So our stuff there grows really well. When we're done recording, I'll send you a picture.
oh, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and most evenings, if it needs watering, I'll just connect our hose pipe. I'll make a cup of tea because it can be cold, and I'll drink a warm cup of tea or a hot cup of tea whilst watering the vegetables. And I find it really relaxing to not have any like electronic stimulus at that point. And I'll spend like half an hour just wandering around watering different things. So
Ah, that I was going to say actually, one of the things I've been doing is also watering our garden, and I
yeah,
find it really therapeutic going
same.
around, and I've got a little hose pipe with different nozzles on it, so I use different a spray for some stuff and a jet for another bits, and
Yeah, that's it.
I find it, yeah, I think there's something so connecting with nature when you do that. I like it.
Yeah. Do you wear shoes when you do it or
I do,
not?
yeah.
So sometimes as well, when it's warmer, I don't wear shoes or socks, and I just feel like the grass beneath my
Ah,
feet, and I find it even more kind of connecting. And I just like wandering around watering vegetables or plants, trees, and I just find like the lack of stimulus really quite nice. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So are you happy to move to the main body? Yeah.
I am, yeah. We'll get chatting about gardening for half an
Yeah,
hour
that's
otherwise.
it. That's it. Yeah, and it won't be helpful to other people unless they want to start gardening. Yeah. Just if anyone does garden and they want us to either send us a photo of your gardening or your vegetable boxes or whatever, you can absolutely do that. We'd love it. So the main body, right? What would you focus on if you were rich? So retiring into something is quite a big transition in life. There are a lot of mental health stuff that can go on when you get from working to retirement. Working fulfills quite a lot of our work, like time in life, and it provides a lot of like identity for things. So if you ever met a new person in life, how when you next meet a new person, time in your head, like how long it is before somebody talks about work or what you do for a living. Normally, in my experience, it's pretty sharpish, fast. So it's really like connected to us, part of who you are. And when you retire, you're kind of putting that down, which is why the transition can be difficult. I don't want to go from 5 days a week of working to 0 days a week of working because just the transition for our brains don't like transition, quick changes whatsoever. I want to ease myself into that. So instead of working 5 days, work three and then drop to two and then finally stop altogether. Not like a hard, abrupt stop. So, Alex, have you got any thoughts on kind of what people, whether they prepare enough for like that transition or no?
I th it's an interesting one. I think people from I mean, I've still yet to meet somebody that has gone full fire and no longer works. Apart at kind of a young age, most of the people I speak to are retiring at a normal retirement age, and when I can think of my parents as a good example for one. I think my dad was very much always taking up hobbies and volunteering at different places at the same time as he was working. So he definitely, as you mentioned, I think he pared down the work from full time down to part time, and then yeah, started to pick up odds and sods and bits of work. But then he's got to the point where he's just happy now, no longer working to earn money, and just does the it does some volunteering at a swimming pool, and like but that transition, I think it was surprised me actually speaking to him. Like, I spoke to him a few months ago about it. It is really hard to get to the point where you want to retire or where you want to. I think you need to have almost a calling for something to go into. And I think often there is that chase. I'm speaking more like now in the fire movement. It's a chase to get there. And I think there's a risk that you get there and there's a huge anticlimax because you're still going to be the same person as you were a few months before reaching fire to a few months after it. And I think you need to have a really a really good plan of what you want to do. And the beauty is there's so many options. And I don't think you have to make one decision and then that defines what you have to do for the rest of your life. If you decide you want to go traveling and you don't like it, you can come home. If you want to decide that you want to focus on your art, but then you realize you don't really like doing art as much when you have to be, when you're putting pressure on yourself to do it, you can try something else. And I always just think the worst case that happens is you just decide that you want to go back to work and you go back to work doing the same job you were doing before. You'd have had a lot of life experience in the meantime. I don't think there's a risk of kind of losing out and never being employed again. And then you just end up like most other people, and but you've got the option to leave whenever you want. So I always think it's positioned as this utopia, and I think but there's no, it's not like once you've decided it, you can't reverse that decision if it's not working for you. And people get a lot of value from doing work and helping others and feeling valued. And I think it's important to really consider some of those things. But the beauty is you'll have a portfolio, an investment portfolio that can support your lifestyle. And you've therefore got options to choose what you want to do or not. So it's a really nice position to get into, but I don't think it necessarily has to be you retire and you never ever work, or you just end up lazing around on the couch for the rest of your life. I definitely don't think that's the spirit of the fire movement.
No, I would agree. I think it's not like a permanent decision, is it? You
Yeah.
can always undo these decisions for sure. So, really, I think it's. No, I agree with you in terms of the feeling valued. People need to feel valued in life to continue on
Mm.
and do different things. But I think it's interesting. Your dad's volunteering at a swimming pool. Um, my dad, who's also retired, he did a lot of like volunteering through like COVID. He was like, yeah, did one of the patient transport things for ambulances, like drove people to hospital appointments and stuff, would wait around, bring them back. And it's just something to do with your day. Like if you think about
Mm.
it, we work 8 hours a day plus some commute time if you have any. So you could be then having to fill anywhere between 8 and 10 perhaps hours in a day. And actually, that's quite a long time to fill if you haven't got a plan for something to do. Like the first couple of weeks are great, it feels like a holiday, and then you're like, is this my new normal? Like my hedonic treadmill will reset, and this will become your new baseline. So you then need to do like additional things. And when you say like having that time to learn about yourself, what you do like, what you don't like, you might think you're going to retire and make artwork or whatever, and then 2 weeks in, you might find you hate it. So stop, try something different, do something else. And when you said as well about never being able to work again after you've retired, like that's just not how it works. Like people, especially in our generation, like millennials or a little bit lower or younger than us, they'll have multiple careers in their life.
Yeah,
You can pick
yeah,
something up doing any of that skill set that you've had, and it's absolutely not a binary decision. You might struggle with the amount of time you now have available, but think about it, plan the things you're going to do, and really just check in with yourself of an evening when you're watering your garden without any other stimulus. See how you feel. It's
yeah. I think it's um, a really important consideration. I think being financially independent and financially free is a really worthwhile goal. You can do a lot with it, and but I think there's a lot of emphasis on that, or the retire early. And whoever I've ever spoken to, uh, and I mentioned the concept that some sort of, oh, what would you do with your time? It's like as if, and I think there's a lot of people put their own, um, what I'm trying to say, their own view of themselves onto you. It's almost like, well, if that person was to be not have to work, then they might be bored because they don't have anything else in their life, um, or they're not that curious, and therefore they would see it being really difficult to do something. But I think the world is endless, and there's so many opportunities to do things, and yeah, I don't think just because you've completed it and you got your 25 times your expenses saved up in investment accounts, that yeah, you just then therefore quit and don't have to do anything. I think it's really valuable to do things. I think the way to see it is you, you've you've stopped yourself having to be forced into doing work for decades and decades and decades that you necessarily don't want to do. And you can do things which are much more, might be much more value adding to yourself and more meaningful to other people. You can volunteer for charitable work, you can teach people, you could even do what you're doing but work part time and then just enjoy really long weekends. And it almost opens up that. I think what fire gets you away from is, right, I'm now going to have to do my 9 to 5 for the next 55 years. So, or the next 50 years. So then I retire at 75 and I might get a bit of a state pension. Like that is what we're trying to avoid.
yeah, doesn't seem appealing, does it?
No. And
Particularly.
somebody who's, 45 might say, oh, I've still got years and years left to work. But maybe that changes when you're 55 or 60. And the prospect is you've got another 10 or 15 years left to have to work. Like, I think you're all and you might get to that point and yeah, brilliant, and you might have all that energy and still love doing what you're doing, and you know hopefully you do, but I kind of think most people aren't going to be like that, because I get when I go to the office, my commute is on like one of the big Southwestern Rail commuter trains, and man, everybody is so miserable on that thing. And you walk across the Millennium Bridge and the herds of people going into central London, and everyone just looks so miserable and so beaten up. And it's like I don't really like. I know for me personally, I don't want to be 60 years old and having to trudge across London in a suit to go to the office. So
No, and I think it's interesting you've had that experience because, like a good while ago, a good number of years ago, for some reason I was getting the train into the city, like from Kent, 6. I think I had to get the one at 6:05 or 6:10 or something like that,
mm,
which is like mental early for me. Like that's not I don't do that mostly. Um, and I was standing there. There was a couple of other people there. They all looked miserable. It was grey, like not raining, but just not like lively. And there was a guy there, and he had white hair. He had an immaculate looking suit and shoes on, carrying a briefcase. And I was like, dude, you've got to be at least 70 at 6:05 in the morning, waiting to get a train. Like, I don't want to be you
Mm,
in that much time. I mean, again, no context on his life. He might absolutely love it, etc. But just that image of him standing on a grey platform
yeah,
with like a blue suit and a bright white beard and hair with a briefcase, I was just like, no, I want to do anything I can to avoid having to
yeah,
do something like that. So, yeah, and the other point you mentioned, which I really enjoyed, is about curiosity, just like staying curious. Like, there's so much stuff you can do and live, like learn in the world that currently your employment is getting in the way of. You could be
yeah.
doing so much. Like, I really enjoyed the training course I did last week about the 12 cranial nerves and the rest of like physical exams and stuff. And I'm thinking about those nerves inside my own head. And for example, like cranial nerve 2 is your optic nerve, like responsible for sight through your retina. And I was like, I'm using that now to learn about itself. And I was like, that was kind of mind
Mm.
blowing for me. Yeah, just
Yeah, it's like the Matrix.
yeah, absolutely. And we covered all of them. I really enjoyed it, but I just think it's something that needs a little bit of thought instead of just falling into it. And again,
Yeah,
it's like you can happen to life. Don't let life happen to you. So just quickly, I spoke to my wife about this. Like, I simply asked her this question over dinner, and I'm forever asking her like these type of questions while we eat. And she said, like, if I had all the money in the world and we were rich, this is what I'd do with it. So she would like to buy a house in the countryside with some land. She'd like to do animal therapy for people. um, our background really here is like mental health, learning disabilities, something like that. So with that in mind, animal therapy for those people and others. She would do like have like a shed for pottery, run a little food bank, do like some art studios and stuff, and just like tuition for like simple lessons as well, and just to make it like a community led place. You'd have some volunteers. We would obviously fund it. It wouldn't cost anyone anything. But I really feel like that's just a nice thing to do. And I'm not just saying that she's my wife and I'll be part of it, but giving something back to people who would benefit from that, I think would be a really empowering thing to do. Because if you think about like my own career, I only did nursing because I applied the year before the bursary stopped. If I apply a year later, I don't do that, and I don't double my income in 3 years' time. And my trajectory in life would look slightly different, and I don't know if that would be better or worse. So I feel like trying to leave the world a better place than when you kind of started or was born, I suppose, is a worthwhile thing to do. I mean, Alex, have you thought about anything like what would you do if money was no object anymore?
yeah. I think there's a few things. So I I think I really enjoy the process of investing. So I think I will continue to invest in research companies and read about the stock market. I will love to have um, my own campsite. So that for me would be so mine and my wife's campsite. Um, and but I think wider than that, I'd definitely travel more. I would love to maybe go and teach abroad, or teach at home. I really enjoy cooking, and so I would try and cook, like learn really good cooking methods, like Michelin star level. Um, Probably do a lot more exercise and runs and uh, things like that, and maybe just continue to even just dip in and out of the workforce, even just with contractual work. But I think I would definitely keep myself busy. Um, it's almost I'd see it as an exciting thing of it allows me to do all of those things which I like to do. So yeah, those are the kind of things I would definitely be on my list. Would yours be
Yeah.
the same as your wife's?
I think so. I
Yeah.
would also like I would add to that. We'd have like vegetable gardens. We'd give out additional produce and stuff, and we'd have. I like the idea of having like you mentioned campsite, which you've mentioned in an episode way back. So that's been a recurring theme for you. But having a couple of like either yurts or little cabins that people can
Yes.
stay in, or You'll do like writing retreats for people finishing like PhDs or whatever, as my wife's been through the pain of that, and anything to make it a bit easier
Mhm.
will be helpful. But also, I would add like a coffee bar into something like that, and I would just make people coffee all the time, as they would turn up, like turn up to make I don't know a piece of pottery, have a latte as well, or whatever you want. Like I recently did that at work, and it brought a lot of joy to a lot of people, and I really enjoyed like doing it as well. So
Mm.
I think it's deep diving into hobbies, finding what really makes you happy, and then just doubling down and doing that. And when money's not really an object, like you can do those things. Like you can start a campsite and charge not very much for your time or for the campsite, etc. You can give like hefty discounts to students or something if you wanted to, because it's not run with profit in mind. It's run for the good of doing something useful, which I think is really nice. I genuinely believe that one day you'll own a campsite, Alex, because you're so driven with this kind of stuff, and um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, and that's why we're doing what we're doing and
Mhm.
keep plugging away.
Yeah, with the end in mind, with the goal in mind, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to mention on like the main body, or no?
No, I think that's it. I think it's just important for people to really have a think about because it's some and certainly as you get closer, really start to maybe plan it out and that doing that phased retirement
Mm,
or continuing to work a bit through contracting and freelancing. Some of that just might help so you're not like just falling off a cliff. And yeah, I think the first few weeks would be amazing, but then it's, as you said, week 15. Are you still as enthusiastic if you've not really thought about what it is that you want to be
yeah,
doing? So
exactly. Or are you stuck watching daytime TV? Yeah.
that's it, which nobody
No,
wants to be
and
doing.
instead of it being sink or swim, like it's like swimming with a buoyancy aid, I think. Uh, just,
Yes, that's a nice way
yeah,
of putting
and
it.
it doesn't have to be like all or nothing for sure. Okay, so this week's reasonable or ridiculous has again come from Reddit. Like maybe I spend too much time reading. Who knows? It's around office trainers. And Alex, coincidentally, you told me before we hit record that you've recently just bought some for the office. So this is timely, but also a bit weird because we didn't talk about it in the week. So
No,
I've seen a lot of posts and chat about what to wear in the office. Trainers that are comfortable but also smart, can be taken seriously, etc., etc. So with kind of the
yeah,
COVID relaxation of rules and people going back to the office and like not so much remote working, etc., I've seen like an influx of posts around this, like at least a couple a week, and a lot of people, depending on the subreddit you're on, it obviously changes, but the most common one I see in some of the higher earning subreddits, like the Henry subreddit, which is high earning, not rich yet, so HENRY. Um, a lot of the brands there are very similar, and I've had a look at kind of some of them, and they range from, in terms of cost, anywhere from like £60 for a pair, all the way up to £1,275 for one pair of office trainers. So my question: do you think it's reasonable to spend, or ridiculous, to spend £1,200 and some change on a pair of office trainers?
well, the ones I bought were £1,250. So no, I'm joking. Um, I no, I mean, I think that's unless you're. I mean, I couldn't even.
Unless you're filthy
I,
rich, right?
yeah, I think that's it. I always think of things as like as a percentage of your net worth. Then maybe that 1,000 quid isn't much. Um, but I think like for me, I like the 50 to £100 range is probably reasonable, given that you want shoes that are going to last and look smart because you're going to be be in meetings and dealing with people. But I think spending 1,000 quid on shoes is bonkers. That for context, so I went through a fit well for the my commute to the office. So I do about 14,000 steps when I do my commute. There's about 5 miles, bit over that. So I need decent shoes to help me. And I was wearing the walking trainers for a while, but walking trainers, if you've ever looked at them, they range in price from 30 quid up to probably 300 quid. And so I would just think, well, I could just spend 30 quid every 6 months on a pair of walking trainers because they just used to fall apart. But then they always just used to look a little bit crap. So I thought I'm going to buy some. So I bought some new shoes and I bought some Skechers, which work. They're so comfortable. They look smart and they're just like black with a white sole. And yeah, they were like 60 quid. And then I bought another pair in a sale for 55. So I've now just thought I'm going to beat inflation and just buy. So I've probably got now 2.5 years worth of shoes, Skechers, which is the same shoe, but just, um, yeah, buy it whilst before it go, starts getting produced. So I thought that was a fairly reasonable decision. And I feel a lot better in those trainers now. But yeah, no way would I ever spend a grand on them. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, well, I was just doing some maths, and funnily enough, I've bought two pairs of the same shoes that I really, really liked. They were also Skechers, weirdly, just from like an outlet store
Yes.
locally-ish to me. And if because I hate buying shoes, so if I find a
Yeah.
pair that I like that fits me well and is comfortable, if it's not ridiculously expensive, I'll get two pairs because then I don't
Yeah.
have to think about it for like 2 years or hopefully more.
Yeah,
Um,
I do the same on loads of stuff. I'm the
yeah,
same with like M&S chinos and Oxford shirts. I
yeah,
just know they fit, and I can just fill my wardrobe with them.
yeah, and
And,
you don't have to think
and
about it.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, but just interestingly, on these trainers, they come from a brand called Zegna or something. I might have butchered that. Who knows?
oh, I
Um,
know who that is.
yeah, but the website's got Mads Mikkelsen on it, right?
Yeah,
And he looks really like trendy, etc. Like he's on the Italian Riviera or something.
that is an Italian fashion designer. I
Oh, is
think it's
it
Ermenegildo Zegna. I believe that's the brand.
Zegna? Right, I
Yeah,
did butcher it. Right, whoops. Um, yeah, but interestingly, right, one pair of those shoes would be roughly 50% of my income for the month. If we so obviously I wouldn't do it. It's ridiculous for someone of my means to buy shoes like that, even though I could afford them. Not doing it. Much better uses for that. If we take that same percentage figure and we apply it to the chap or the person, lady, possibly on Reddit, who earns £14,000 a month, it's 9.1% of their monthly income.
yeah.
Does that change whether you buy them or not?
I think it definitely. I think it could do.
Mm.
And I think it's always a good reference to look at, yeah, either your percentage of your income or as a percentage of your net worth when making a decision. Because I think, yeah, if you were to, I always think if you were to then look back at yourself and think you've got, if somebody spend a grand on their trainers and they've only got £5,000 to their name, 20% of your net worth is in a pair of trainers. Um, Whereas if somebody's got £1 million, 0.1% of your, or 0.01% of your net worth is in a pair of trainers.
Yeah, it's a different story, isn't it?
And I think that's the way I tend to try and, but it's the same with cars. It's almost like you might have a really expensive car and I don't know, you've spent 60 grand, 70 grand on your car, but if you've only got that and you might have a couple hundred grand of house equity, that's probably not the best decision.
No, from a strict maths point of view. And I think just one last thing on this before one of us does a summary. I would have to work for about 70 hours to buy a pair of shoes like that. And I always think about big things. How
Yeah,
many hours would you have to work to be able to afford it? And if you make £1,200 an hour, then fine. But
yeah,
if you don't, and you're like the majority of the people of the population, probably a bit ridiculous.
yeah. But I think that's also a really good way of looking at stuff as well, like convert it into hours, time. How much of my time do I need to exchange to get this?
Yeah, then is it still worth it once the hype is worn off? Yeah. Alex, I'm just conscious of time because you've got some running to do this evening in prep for is it a marathon you're doing?
No, no, it's just a 10K run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, I mean not now, this evening, but you're
yeah.
training
That
for a marathon.
no, no. I'm training for a 10 kilometer run.
Oh.
but I'm
Okay.
just trying to do a good time.
Okay. How fast do you normally do them? It's
So anywhere below 50 minutes is my goal.
yeah.
So I'm trying to get quicker. So anywhere between, if I could do it in like 48, that would be a huge achievement. So
Okay.
that's,
So what I would like next time then, next week when we record for the intro bit, for you to tell me and our listeners the time that you ran 10k in this evening,
yeah,
if that's all right with you.
yeah, I can do that.
Cool. Do you want to do a summary or me?
Yeah, I can do a quick summary.
Cool.
So summarize our episode today. So we started off with a person that earns £14,000 a month is a bit miserable, and we considered that to be well, without knowing a huge amount of context, but I think showing that money is not everything, and that you need to have a good life that sits around that, not just earning money for no reason. And then our main return on heartbeats, two really nice ones. So Rose, who spoke to us a couple of months ago, has got now just over 300 quid in her ISA savings, which is great news. And also, Alex has been eating the fruits of his labour in his garden through from the vegetable patch. The main body of the content today. So this is really kind of touching on that kind of the intro with the person that earns a ton of money and is unhappy, but it's about kind of focusing on what to retire into. And I think it's, we spend so much time trying to accumulate money that often that you can get blinded to why you're doing it. So making sure that people start to have a plan to look at things that they're interested in when the time comes that they're no longer going to be at work. And also, especially if you're part of the FIRE movement, you're probably going to retire a lot earlier than most of the people, and you're going to have a lot of time on your hands to explore, be curious about the world and different things that you might be interested in or not, and also to give yourself some comfort that it doesn't have to be permanent. You can always go back to work or do other things. Um, no need to be kind of get stressed over those things. You've bought yourself a load of options, and that's definitely the main purpose of FIRE is to give yourself those options. And then we concluded on our reasonable or ridiculous about office trainers. So I think price ranges from anywhere from about £60 to £1,000 or £1,200, and I think we both concluded that the on the face of it, those trainers are ridiculous to spend 1,200 quid on a pair. But if you are incredibly wealthy and it's only a very small percentage of either your income, doesn't take you very long to buy them in terms of trading your time for them, or if you've got a huge amount of net assets and that's those trainers only represent a small proportion of it, in very outside circumstances, it may be reasonable. I think that was it.
That is a super summary. Yeah, I've got nothing more to add apart from to thank you for your time. Good luck in running. Remember to
Thank you.
stretch after you're done.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.